all started on the morning of December 7th, 1941. This was like no other event in American history, the attack on Pearl Harbor. This attack, however, was a complete surprise. No one saw it coming. This happened in the United States Naval Base at Pearl Harbor on Oahu Island, Hawaii, by the Japanese that provoked the entrance of the United States into World War II. The hit climaxed many years of aggravated relations between the United States and Japan. Japan's invasion of China in 1937, its following alliance with the Axis powers, which included Germany and Italy, in 1940, and its occupation of French Indochina in July 1941, is what caused the United States to react the same month by stopping the Japanese advances in the United States and announcing an embargo on petroleum shipments and other essential war substances to Japan. By late 1941, the United States had severed practically all commercial and financial relations with Japan. Although Japan sustained to arrange with the United States up to the day of Pearl Harbor attack, the Prime Minister, who at the time was Toyo Hideki, decided on war. The attack plans for bombing Pearl Harbor was possible by a man named Admiral Yamato Isuku. He was the commander-in-chief of Japan's fleet, who had organized and intended the strike against the United States Pacific Fleet. Once the United States fleet was out of operation, the method for the Japanese defeat of Southeast Asia and the Indonesian islands would be navigable. It was on November 26th when a Japanese boat, which contained 6 aircrafts, 2 battleships, 3 cruisers, and 11 destroyers, sailed 275 miles north of Hawaii. From there on, around 360 planes were introduced. The Japanese had a theory that was comprehensible: to demolish the Pacific Fleet. With this being done, the U.S. would not be able to fight as Japan's military services outspread the South Pacific. Finally, on December 7, 1941, after months of preparation, the Japanese introduced their hostile attack on the United States of America. Many historians, for example, Charles A. Beard, wanted to find out more information about the Pearl Harbor attack. He was one of the first to test a formal version of Pearl Harbor. Beard analyzed President Roosevelt and the coming of the war, which was the year of 1948, in which the United States had intentionally motivated the Japanese into a situation whereby they had no alternative but to take action. Here's a quote by historian Charles Beard that explains his argument. Not only was American policy provocative in effect, more than that, the administration, which had some time before cracked the Japanese code, must have known weeks in advance of Japan's plan to attack. Although Beard did not claim that officials knew the attack would come at Pearl Harbor, Beard supported his argument by citing Secretary of War Henry Stimson's comment in his diary. The question was how we should maneuver them into the position of firing the first shot. Overall, Beard believes that Roosevelt intentionally guided the U.S. into conflict with Japan. The Japanese had their own ideas as to how to cause severe damage to the Americans. The weapons the Japanese used to attack us with included artillery such as a 98 land bomb, 98 Model 2 torpedo, and a 99 anti-ship bomb, which destroyed most of the USS Arizona. It's significant to comprehend that the Japanese had 2 non-similar types of aim of attack during the actual attack. Most notably, their main targets were battleships, carriers, and cruisers in the Pearl Harbor area. It is scary to realize statistically how many unintended lives were taken on this day in history. The total number of people killed was over 2,400. This contained around 2,000 naval people, around 100 Marines, and 218 Army. Not only this, but many civilians died during this time period as well. People from the USS Arizona suffered with over 1,000 deaths alone. Located at Pearl Harbor, Honolulu, the USS Arizona Memorial represents the unbent site of 1,000 of the 1,177 sailors and Marines assassinated on the USS Arizona during the Japanese unexpected charge on Pearl Harbor. This memorial shows respect and remembrance of the events of that specific day. Not only were there many deaths that had occurred, but many wounded. There was over 700 Navy people, around 60 Marines, and over 300 Army troops, as well as civilians, who suffered from damages. It is ironic enough to say that the total amount of Japanese lives lost were well under 60. Like stated before, many guiltless lives had been taken. These people deserve to be honored. The United States does share who had passed away during the Pearl Harbor attack. For example, a man named John Kalawi Adams. John Adams is one of those civilians who had lost their life on December 7, 1941, during the attack on Pearl Harbor. He was only around our age, 18 years old, when he passed away. Once again, there are presently many monuments that show respect to the ones who lost their lives and the damages that had happened. For example, the USS Arizona is the resting region for many of the ship's crewmen who lost their lives on December 7, 1941. The memorial structure is 184 feet long, extended from side to side of the mid portion of the lower level part of the battleship, where it contains three leading components. These elements include the entrance and gathering rooms, a middle district outlined for formal occasions and popular observations, and the holy room. This shrine almost is like a sanctuary. It is where the names of those killed on the USS Arizona are inscribed on the marble walls. Many authors have developed lots of books based on the Pearl Harbor attack. One of these books is called Pearl Harbor, Day of Infamy, by author Stephanie Fitzgerald. This novel offers knowledge on event-taking spot on December 7th, 1941, which was a day that thousands of Americans were killed by the power of Japan in Hawaii's Pearl Harbor naval base, which then eventually caused the United States to join World War II. Of what this book entails, yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States was at peace with that nation, and at the solicitation of Japan, was still in conversation with its government and its emperor, looking toward the maintenance of peace in the Pacific. Many people, especially in the United States, reacted to the after part of the attack as a day that we will never forget. Even President Franklin D. Roosevelt and his men in government knew that an aggressive action on the United States fleet at the Philippines was feasible. But however, few concluded the naval base located at Pearl Harbor would ever be attacked. Here's a quote: "Americans should always be reminded about the horrific event that took place on December 7th, 1941. We as Americans now look at our country in a different way, in which we underwent a series of managing international relations and economic revolutions. From isolationism to international guidance, from protectionism to encouraging an open trading method, and the establishments to direct it. and from disliked alliances to creating a large system of allies, even with former enemies such as Japan. As famously said by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, the American people and their righteous might will win through absolute victory. This here is a quote from Franklin D. Roosevelt's address to Congress on December 8, 1941. This was the day after the assault on Pearl Harbor. The importance of Pearl Harbor was not the American people that were attacked, but they came together and grew stronger. This horrific day in history helped make Americans increase in nationalism. This event is what made the American people into the United States of America.